On this episode of the Rebel Health Tribe podcast, available at rebelhealthtribe.com, we welcome Angie Lee from Wellpreneur Business Academy.
It really tests who you are and it tests your entrepreneurial spirit and how resilient you are. And it's a ton of work. People don't see it. And I definitely had a burnout before. And so I'm really learning just now, like, okay, when do I channel the push? When do I need to relax? What is the ebb and flow of business? And I really think you don't learn that in entrepreneurship till you're just in it and you find out, like, this is how I handle stress. Oh my God, this is how I handle being anxious. This is what I need to do. This is, and that to me is like priceless. They don't teach you that in school. They don't teach you that anywhere. And I'm really learning that myself. I'm like, all right, this is how I want to run it the next time. This is how I want to handle my stress. This is how it's
and you literally learn from failing.
That's coming up.
Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Rebel Health Tribe podcast. I am without Joe Rignola today. My name is Michael Roseline. I'm a co-host and main host today. Joe's dealing with some family baby doctor situations going on today, so I am flying solo. And I am here with my friend Angie Lee.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here and to chat with you today.
Yeah, we've known each other a long time. We actually used to live in close proximity, and I may have taken one of your yoga classes before without even knowing you were the teacher. But
probably.
It's good to have you come on with us here. And for those who don't know, can you just tell our audience a little bit about you and what you do, and then we'll backtrack and figure out how you got there.
Awesome. So I'm a business strategist for health and wellness professionals in the online space. So I teach health and wellness professionals, wellness coaches, how to strategize their social media, launch their programs, launch their products so they can systematize and they can basically streamline their process. So all of their social media and everything is aligned, and we teach them how to put their services out there. So my business partner and my business partner, Jen, she's actually in New York. That's what we do. So we were both health and wellness coaches for over 6 years. And now we teach other health and wellness coaches how to promote their products and their services and get their branding on point.
Cool. It sounds like we probably know a lot of people who could utilize your skills. So hopefully the right people are hearing this and we'll check out what you're doing over there. But before we talk about that, in any more detail, did you grow up? You live in Chicago. Are you from there?
Yeah, so I'm from Wheaton, actually, a small Bible town of Wheaton.
I grew up in Lombard.
Oh, that's right. Okay, Lombard's super close.
Yeah.
I was kind of like the black sheep in Wheaton, though. I feel like always trying to do yoga at like 10 years old, and people were staring at me like I was a weirdo. So
witchcraft.
grew up in Wheaton, and then I went to Mizzou for broadcast journalism. Thought I wanted to be like a weather girl, which I realized doesn't really help anyone. And then my passion for nutrition and health just exploded. So everything kind of evolved into becoming a health and wellness coach, teaching yoga, doing boot camps, personal training, and then now getting immersed in this world of social media and branding and marketing, which is like so fascinating to me as well. So it's kind of been pretty organic, I guess, the transition.
So you liked yoga as a kid?
I feel like I did. I was doing it for a while because I was big into gymnastics. So after gymnastics, I felt like going into yoga was like the next transition.
Was health, wellness, nutrition, yoga type stuff something that was in your house, or did you pick that up from outside people?
Yeah, I was a gymnast for a long time, for like 15 years. So I think I got really into the human body, being an athlete, how to improve performance. So I think I came home one day in middle school and was like, Mom, I got this book from this place called Whole Foods. Like, we should go there. She's like, Whole Foods. And then I brought her there. I'll always remember this. She's like, wow, this place is expensive. What's going on here? And
the one over on Butterfield?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to live in Warrenville before I moved west. Warrenville was the last place I lived, which is right next to Wheaton for people who have no idea what the hell we're talking about. Yeah, and I used to get my groceries there at that Whole Foods. And yeah, there's a bit of a sticker shock the first time.
There is, if you've never been there. So we went there and literally would just immerse myself and became obsessed with health and wellness, which you know about, to that point where like I could not get my hands off of every article, journal, book. I think I was sitting in the aisles at Whole Foods, like reading the vitamin books, like reading supplement labels. Like I think it started at about 14, 15, really, really young. I just became obsessed with it and gave up pops or gave up sugar and just became that weirdo of my friends who was eating healthy, quote unquote. And then the next thing you know, I made it my business. So I think that's kind of how it starts is you either get it or you don't. You get that little bug for it. So.
In Mizzou, you mean University of Missouri or Missouri University? Did you finish the broadcast journalism?
No, so I did broadcast journalism for about 2 years, and then I went to nutrition and dietetics because obviously my soul was calling to do something else. The world of broadcast journalism for me just didn't light me up. So I left and then went to nutrition and dietetics.
There at Mizzou, or did you do that somewhere else?
No, I actually did it here in Chicago at UIC.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. What was it like at Mizzou? How was your experience there?
It was good. It was really good. I feel like, I actually started my health blog in college. So my freshman year, I remember I started it in my dorm room. So for me, I feel like a lot of college wasn't the typical like party and like sorority girl. It was more of like, I actually started slowly building this, I feel like a long, long time ago. So it's interesting that I don't want to say missed out on that because I think everyone's path is different. But it was fun though. I mean, it's a beautiful campus and it was enough away from home where I got some space, but it wasn't like I couldn't come home if I wanted to.
That's true. Mizzou's kind of far away. Where is that in Missouri?
It's in Columbia, so it's about 6 hours away from Chicago right now. So
okay.
Not too bad. Mm-hmm.
Just past St. Louis then?
Yeah, just past St. Louis. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I almost went to school in Florida State, but it fell through kind of last minute and I ended up at Western Illinois. I did my bachelor's degree in history and education and was a teacher for a few years. So it's funny that and people always expect like 17, 18-year-old kids to like know what they want to do their whole life and pick a degree track and get the degree and spend the money and have the student loans. And then you'll go right into this field. And I really know nobody, I don't think, that is doing right now in their 30s what either their first major was in college or what their first degree was in college. Like, I think that whole idea of someone when they're 17 making a decision that I'm going to be this when I grow up. I didn't realize how much of a kid I was at 17.
I know. And it's funny now because I don't have kids yet, but I'm pretty sure might be the weird mom who homeschools them and like says, do not go to school. It's a trap. It's all a lie. But because I want them to be entrepreneurs, but I honestly want them to take time after high school, go travel, go explore, go intern, do whatever, and then maybe a year or two later go to college. I think it's very messed up that our system is like, okay, now what do you want to do right away? Right, you better know, put a bunch of money down. Okay, there you go. Like
and get yourself buried in debt and then probably not want to do the thing that you started to do anyway. Within a few months of teaching, I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. And I saw a lot of teachers who were in there, had been teaching 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, who I could tell it wasn't what they wanted to do either. And that sucks for them, but it also sucks for the kids. So I thought, like, you know what, there's enough teachers here who don't love doing this. I'm not going to be another one.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
so I got out and switched to something I do enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So you got out of college, you did the nutrition and dietetics, and then when I met you, you were a yoga instructor, and I think doing some personal training. Did you kind of go both of those right after college?
Yeah, I was doing them at Mizzou actually in college, and then here in Chicago too. I was doing a lot of in-home consulting, so I'd go to their house, train, do nutrition for them. So I was kind of doing it all: nutrition, training, teaching yoga, and largely focusing my energy on my online programs, my online one-on-one coaching, going virtual. Because like we've talked about before, my whole long-term goal was to go virtual. I was like, I didn't want to forever be in that cycle or that trap. So yeah, when you met me, I was still personal training and teaching yoga.
Cool. And then, because you weren't doing a ton of online space stuff, I don't think, when I first met you, or maybe you were just starting to.
I was just starting to. I think my blog was, that's definitely the blog I started at 19. So definitely I was still doing the blog, but honestly, it's crazy and so fascinating how social media has changed. Back then there was sort of Instagram, Facebook wasn't as big. And so now everything is just kind of like exploded, and there's live video and everything's so different now as far as promoting yourself and what you do. So I wish there would have been more live video back then. So it's all so different now.
For sure. Yeah, it's gone berserk the last like 5 years even, because
Yeah.
when I was starting online stuff, it was really difficult to do. And there weren't all the different social media avenues, and not as many people were on the social media. So you were only hitting like a little niche crowd if you were using it. And now, like, I don't know, I just got a new phone and I had to download the Facebook Messenger app, and it said
Yeah.
like 1.5 billion people have it.
And you were like, wait, what?
And I was like, with a B, that's, that's a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I think it's a lot different now. How'd you make that decision that you wanted to do online based stuff versus the more in-person yoga and training?
I think the entrepreneur in me just knew. I had started another business prior to that with my brother. We actually started a meal delivery service as well. So I feel like everything I was doing was kind of leading up to, I needed freedom. Like I needed to be free. I'm such a wanderlust. So for me, it's like, I want to be able to go live wherever I want, when I want, similar to you. I know you're like that too. So for me, I need a job that can let me wake up and do whatever the heck I want and go to the beach if I want, travel if I want. So online is literally the biggest blessing ever. And it's the only outlet really to do that right now. I feel like in 2016.
Where's your target destination? Do you have
San
one?
Diego.
You said so you wanted to move. Oh, San Diego?
Yeah, right next door to you.
I think there's a
Your
for rent
neighbor.
right over there.
Duh.
Cool. Yeah. I followed a similar like trajectory. Mine, I did personal training for a while and then started to do more online stuff, and then decided I wanted to be able to move, and then decided where I wanted to move, and then moved.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I love it.
You're almost there.
Well,
But I think you have more of an
right
attachment to Chicago than I did, though. I see a lot of your posts, and
Yeah.
you like where you live a lot more than I did.
Yeah, I mean, I love the city. Like, I'm in a high rise right now. It's very metropolitan, and I like it, but I feel like I'm done with it. It's kind of out of my system, and my heart is definitely, I need a more zen place. And if I could convince Jonathan, my boyfriend, to pick up his bags and move, I would. But he's been a little resistant to LA or SoCal because he doesn't think he'd like it. So we're going back and forth on who's gonna win.
Set up a trial. Go out for like a month.
I know, that's what I said. I was like, let's just do it for a little bit. So we'll see. It's just hard when you know this. When you're a Midwest person, you literally have so much pride in the Midwest, and you think nothing else could compare, and you're just so stuck in your ways that it's hard to get someone to branch out.
I've heard that a lot. I never had that myself, but
Yeah.
I hear that a lot from people. Like it's a badge of honor of some kind to go through hellacious winters and
I
all
know.
these
I'm
other
like, why
things.
is that a badge of honor?
People tell me that they don't. I don't mind it. I say you're full of shit and you're lying. So I don't trust anybody that says that they don't mind it. So then you decided to go online, and you were doing. I know that you had a couple like direct sales businesses that you built and things like that with. I think it was USANA you were doing, and then you switched more from doing the coaching of the nutrition and of the health to coaching the coaches.
Yeah.
Sort of. What was that? How did you decide to make that transition? And like, where'd that idea come from?
Yeah, it was kind of organic. I saw the world of social media growing, and I love marketing, advertising. I'm so fascinated by how certain brands succeed and social media and the way it's going, and how you can literally use it to build a business and a platform. And so I started studying it kind of on my own, always as a hobby. And what happened is girls started reaching out to me who I was coaching or who knew me and said, like, how did you build your blog? How did you get followers? How did you monetize it? How did you really do all of that? And so on the side, I kind of would teach them a little bit. And then I realized, like, oh my God, I'm super passionate about this. So it started with a few clients who came to me and said, listen, teach me what you did. I, charged them only a little bit just to kind of walk them through the process of how to build their brand, how to get their website up, how to do all of that. And the next thing you know, I launched one program. It was super successful. I really enjoyed the process. So I said to myself, I got to choose one or the other because I knew how my energy is. So I went all in now into this. So we'll see. I definitely still have a strong passion for health and wellness. So I'm trying to decide if my YouTube channel would be more health and wellness. And then I would also have this Wellpreneur Business Academy program for women who want to learn how to promote and brand themselves.
That's cool. We're kind of kicking around some of that stuff too, because we have a lot of people contact us now about, helping them with their website or helping them market or put together like an online program, or because they saw ours and liked ours and all this stuff. And Joe does a lot of video editing and all kinds of things that are skills that, we were talking before we went on air that we don't know how to do. And so we, between him and our web guy, Carl, and what we've kind of got a team that can, I don't know, help people like that. So we're kind of kicking around the idea of starting to do that in some sort of organized fashion versus, just helping people out on the side. And I think it would be a lot of fun because you can helping to coach those people to reach a wider audience and be more successful. You're indirectly helping way more people than you could on your own.
Yeah. So and I didn't want to be affiliated with network marketing. I was with network marketing just for a few years, and I do love it. And I think it's a great business model. But I think that I want to be able to teach women in all different businesses. I don't want to just teach USANA. Like, all right, here's how you build USANA. I'm super passionate to teach them. All right, you're isogenic, speech bar, like whatever you're doing. I want to show you that if you're confident and you have your branding on point and you know what you're doing, you can create a very profitable system online. So I had to leave USANA because I can't be doing both at the same time. And I still have so much respect for network marketing, but I think unless you want to be at the top of just that company, it's very limiting and it corners you a lot from doing other things. And so that's kind of why I left USANA after about 5 years. I
gotcha. Yeah, it's more narrow and singular focus versus building wider stuff. We just started working with one on this as a side thing, but it's grown into a much larger than side thing. So we're trying to figure out how to juggle all of that at this point. But, because when you're super busy entrepreneur, it makes total sense to throw another huge time consuming thing on your lap. Yeah. So we're kind of out of our minds with that right now. But what kind, you said you did a program first, that was your first program and it went really well and you liked doing it. Yeah. What has evolved from, what was that program and what was it like? And what are you offering now or starting to move towards now?
Yeah, so I launched it by myself first. It just ended. I had a 3-month Wellpreneur Business Academy class, and I took the girls through the whole process of niching, branding, content creation, how to do their live videos, all of that. And I actually found my business partner. We were in the same business mastermind online, and I met her, and we jumped on some Zooms. She lives in New York, and we just hit it off. And I just said, listen, I think you have the skills that would really complement me really well. She's more of like tech nerd, back-end logistics, and I'm more front-end branding, creativity. So together we're like a powerhouse. So I like called her up and I'm like, hey, this might sound creepy or weird, but like, I have an idea. She's like, okay, we hadn't met yet. And I was like, I think we should be business partners and do this together. So it's been great. She's my full-time partner right now in my business. And it's been really phenomenal to have someone, as you know, kind of joining forces and to have two brains working on something, especially something that big that has hundreds of women. So we're launching our next one in 2 weeks. So we're a little stressed. We might not make it, but I think I will.
You will. Launches are always like we didn't think we would.
Literally, I might lose my mind. People.
When we launched our online program about 1.5 years ago, I was still working on modules in it while we were doing like the launch week event.
Yep.
And so I think we worked each of us worked probably 80 hours a week for about 6 weeks during that launch period. And now we learned what not to do so that when we launch anything else, we're going to be way more prepared and do things way more ahead of time and whatever. But it's crazy and hectic no matter what. And people who don't work in the online space or do product launches, it's like, think about everyone you know's birthday and every holiday pops onto your calendar all at one time a week from right now, and you have to prepare for all of it.
That is such a beautiful explanation. It's
and
like
people are emailing you and calling you and messaging you, and you have to, and it's just it's total chaos and madness and stressful. But then it happens and it goes well. Yeah. And then you can relax for a little bit and it's nice. And then when you go back to a normal workload after that, it seems like you're on vacation.
Yeah, honestly, and I'm planning a vacation right now to hopefully Maui. But I told Jen that. I said it really tests who you are and it tests your entrepreneurial spirit and how resilient you are. And it's a ton of work. People don't see it. And I've definitely had a burnout before. And so I'm really learning just now, like, okay, when do I channel the push? When do I need to relax? What is the ebb and flow of business? And I really think you don't learn that in entrepreneurship till you're just in it and you find out, like, this is how I handle stress. Oh my God. This is how I handle being anxious. This is what I need to do. This is, and that to me is like priceless. They don't teach you that in school. They don't teach you that anywhere. And I'm really learning that myself. I'm like, all right, this is how I want to run it the next time. This is how I want to handle my stress. This is how it's
and you literally learn from failing and from doing things wrong. Yeah. Like if you did everything, well, one, you're never going to do everything right the first time you do everything, or you're never going to do everything right ever because that's impossible. But the more stuff you screw up, the more you know what not to do.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of things wrong when we first started out. And now, like, when we do stuff, and I've learned how to manage my stress a lot better too. Like you mentioned, because during that launch, both of us like almost put ourselves into an asylum.
Yeah.
And now the last few weeks, I've been really, really busy also. And I am not crazy. And it's because I've learned how to like separate myself a little bit. And there's always like days will happen. You'll be like, my business is doomed. I'm never like, this is the end. And then 2 days later, something awesome happens and you're like, I'm going to rule the world in a week. And if you learn not to get too crazy on either end of the spectrum, I think that those things affect you a lot less.
Stay an even keel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
that's so hard though as humans, because I'm such a passionate person. So when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's really bad. So it's the roller coaster is real, but learning to just kind of chill out and stay in the middle is a challenge.
Yeah, and some people, they do better at because it's more commonly talked about, is dealing with the low points better. Like it's always going to get better. It's not as bad as I think. It's, keeping that positivity during low points. But what I don't ever hear talked about is when something good happens, not going like completely berserk bonkers and setting crazy expectations and being like, okay, now I'm totally dominating, because that'll come back. And then it's like when you come back to regular, like you have a normal day or a normal, like, and this can be related to anything, not just business. Like say one day you do a workout and it's really hard and you beat yourself up over like, I didn't do this workout very well. Then next time you go 2 days later, say you crush the workout and you set all kinds of records for yourself and you're like, I am now superhuman and I should be a pro athlete. And then you go back a third time and it's like an average workout. That average workout will feel crappy compared to the one that you just crushed.
Yep.
And then people tend to beat themselves up then when really they were, so I think there's a lot to, I heard us say nothing's ever as bad as it seems or as good as it seems or something like that.
I love that.
And
that's so powerful.
I think it works in both directions, like I think that not getting discouraged when you're down, but then not losing sight of reality when you're up.
Wow, you just gave me an idea for my Facebook Live video today. Nothing is as good as it seems and nothing is as bad as it seems.
Cool. Well, I mean, royalties can be sent to, no, I'm just kidding.
All right. And it's in the mail. That's so true. Because once you get there and once you reach that level, it's kind of like that now what syndrome. And that hit me too. It's like, all right, I reached that goal, whether it was emotionally, financially. And then once you get there, if you're not actually fulfilled, and this is what Tony Robbins obviously talks about, if you're not actually fulfilled or you didn't enjoy the journey or the process, you're kind of like, okay, now what? And that's kind of the scary point as a human to be in, especially as an entrepreneur, because I feel like there's so many entrepreneurs constantly chasing the cookie and the next thing.
Something needs to fill that space.
Something needs to fill that space. Yeah.
You mentioned real. Tony Robbins.
My boyfriend, yes.
Yeah, your second boyfriend.
My husband, yes.
And you used the word groupie before we came on, so it's not me saying it. You have a funny story. Was that your first Tony Robbins event?
Yeah, that was my first one. Yes.
Can you tell your little funny story about that? And for people who don't know, just fill people. I don't know if anybody doesn't know who Tony Robbins is.
If they don't know who Tony is, they better put this on pause and go Google.
Yeah, listen to him. It's probably more important than what we're saying. But can you give a little? Here's your Tony Robbins infomercial time, and she doesn't work for him, by the way, or anything. But
we're just married.
Share your story about your first visit to the land of Tony.
Yeah, so I've always listened to him when I was a little girl. My dad would put his tapes in the car.
Really?
Like, yeah, he'd be like cruising down the street, be like, listen to this. And I'd be like, oh my God, I could do anything, So I was always listening to that personal development. And then I saw a big billboard in Chicago. He was coming to Chicago. And I was like, oh my God, I need to go. I was on break from college and I was like, I'm broke as a joke. And $5,000 back then to me was like $1 million, literally. So I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to like hustle, do random side things. I'm on break at college. I wasn't really working a ton. I mean, I didn't know what to do. So I had a car that I wasn't using a lot. And so I actually sold the car and used part of that to go to Tony Robbins. And my parents were like, you're crazy. What are you doing? I'm like, no, I need to go to Tony because if I go, I'm going to, get myself together and change my life. And I had to experience it. So
and how was it?
To 2 other ones. So you could say I'm kind of obsessed.
Was it worth selling the car?
I think it was. I mean, I never ended up using it. So I was like, you know what? I had to sit down and figure out like, how could I find $5,000 in the next like 2 weeks? I remember being like, what could I do? What could I sell? What could I do just
legally?
To get my ass there? Could I sell myself? What could I do? So Yeah, I did it, and it was great because honestly, as corny as it sounds, it wasn't the actual event that changed my life. I mean, it was, but it was that grit to really like figure out how could I make something happen. And I think that's a testament of like really entrepreneurship or commitment is like figuring out how can I make something work even when it doesn't seem like it's going to work. So I went there and then I like screamed my butt off, right, and fell in love with Tony, and then the rest is history.
Now you've been how many times now? 3?
I've been to 4.
Four live events?
Yeah, I've been to 4 because I went to 2 Date with Destinies, 2 Unleash the Power Withins. Yeah, 2 were in Cali and then 2 were in Chicago. So
have you met him at these events?
No, but he did wink at me when I was in like the second row.
That counts. That definitely
counts. He went
counts.
like this, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And my brother's like, "You're freaking out right now, aren't you?" I'm like, "This is the best moment of my life."
Michael Jordan gestured in our direction once at a Bulls game when we were sitting near courtside, so I count that as I've met Michael Jordan.
You and Jordan are pretty much like
BFFs.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so now that we're way off track,
Yeah.
I think let me see. Where from here? What do you want to do? Like, right, your first program was a little more basic. Now you're expanding it. Like, what are you doing 3 years from now?
That's a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's actually what I'm tapping into right now and doing like soul searching, you could say, to really figure out what would feel authentic for me. I'd love to do more speaking, more events, and really just empower women on a different level. I mean, health and wellness is one level, but financially, spiritually, I just want to be the next female Tony Robbins, obviously. So really helping women get over blocks. I love helping people get through mental barriers. So whether that's an event, speaking, writing a book is on my agenda probably 5-ish years. But I would love to just expand my social network so then I'm able to just reach more people as well and see where it takes me. I think for the first time in my life, I'm kind of just letting it go and trying not to plan too much because I've been a planner my whole life, and I'm ready to just kind of like trust in the universe and see what evolves from all of this.
I started doing that and it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, and I just even this week, so that's really funny you asked that. I just kind of like let go, and I'm like, all right, universe, you know what I want, you know my intention, just go, whatever.
Have at it.
Yeah.
You got a tip or pointer or suggestion as a main, either for business coaching or getting over blocks, or something you'd like to share that might be a take home for those listening?
Yeah.
I just saw your post on indecisiveness, or your video. That was pretty good. You could talk about that, or anything like a take home little nugget.
Yeah, I love talking about that. My brother and I always, that's like our little, before he goes on a fight or before he does anything and before we do anything in our own personal lives, we always have this little hashtag called Just Decide. Like, it's pretty much between us. No one knows the hashtag, but it's a little quote that always reminds me, like, everything in life is a decision, whether it's marriage, whether it's your health, whether it's your business. Everything's just a decision. And I think what's going on is there's too many people out there that are just not making enough decisions about what they want. So I think that's always step one, is write it down, journal it, whatever you have to do, vocalize it, tell someone, just any way to really commit and decide what you want. I think that's huge. And I think enough people aren't doing that.
Yeah, and it's okay if what you want changes.
Yeah.
That's something that I had a really hard time with. And even now, I'll get business ideas that are totally unrelated to what we do. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. I do this. And I'm like, well, I could do that. But now when I feel like maybe something else, because I see the world of travel blogging, for example, is literally to me, it's a joke that people can just travel around and get paid about writing about it. That just blows my mind because I love to travel.
Or food bloggers.
Or food, eat. Some are a food travel blog.
You're like, really?
So they just travel around the world and eat food, which is pretty much my favorite thing to do. And then they get paid for it. And I'm like, what the hell did I do to not be doing that right now? But my job is awesome. I love what we do, so don't take it that way. But it's I see these things like Anthony Bourdain. If I could just be Anthony Bourdain and travel around and have people record me eating food, I'm pretty sure that that's winning in my world. And so, but then I'll think oh, I can't do that because I do this. And no, that's not true. You could do, you don't have to do the same thing forever. And that doesn't just, we're talking about business stuff, and that doesn't just go for business. That's, hobbies, interests. People especially once they, in 40s, 50s, and they think oh, I've always been interested in that, but I've never done it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Just do it. just take it up, do it. When I actually spent 3 years skydiving, which I think we talked about on the phone once, but when I was going through training for that, I went through training one with a guy who was completely deaf, which was interesting to watch him go through all the training without being able to hear.
Yeah.
And because a lot of it is spoken, the training is like classes that you sit in. So it was really interesting to watch. And then I got to know him and talk to him. And it was actually the actual skydiving part was easier for him because he couldn't hear. And it's like loud and scary, and there's wind and plane and all sorts of things that like jack you up and make you nervous. He couldn't hear any of it. So to him, it was like 100% peaceful quiet.
Yeah.
And so and I also went through training with a guy who was in his 70s. And he said, I've always wanted to do this. I had a brother who was in World War II, and he jumped off a plane and whatever. And I always just had interest in it. So his retirement thing was learning to skydive and becoming a skydiver and doing it for sport.
Yeah.
And so like, it was so cool to see, because it's like most people by the time they're 40 don't try new things.
Yeah.
Or think like time has passed them and they can't like start a new thing. And this guy was like 73 years old learning to jump off planes. And I was like, dude, I hope I'm as cool as you when I'm 73.
Talk about health and wellness. I mean, you can be in your 70s now and be super fit, super healthy. I mean, I know 20-year-olds who are killing it. And I know 28-year-olds who
we're not.
like they're like, I'm tired. I'm like, you're what? I'm like, why? What are you doing? You know? And I'm like, Jesus, I know 78-year-olds who are like killing it on the Stairmaster, and you're sitting here like a little.
Yeah, it's never, you know, too late to change things or to make different decisions or start new hobbies or get into something that you've always wanted to do. So just do that. I think that would be our message. So, all right. Well, I think we're about good here. Where can people find you? Where do they want to look for you? Like, if they want to look for you, where do they find you? Website, social media, stuff like that. And what have you got going on right now that they might want to check out?
Launching the Wellpreneur Business Academy in 2 weeks, and then hopefully again in the spring. So any women who know women, or you yourself are interested in health and fitness and want to take your business virtual, I'm your girl.
All right, cool. Well, thanks a lot, Angie. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. I appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
All right.